Welcome back, everyone, to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna, Intuitive Consulting. This month, we have the July psychic and astrological predictions that I can't wait to jump into with Susan Reynolds. Thank you so much, Susan, for joining us again.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. It's just always fun to see what's going to happen as we sort of bounce off each other.
Oh, I know, hey. Well, and I love that it's recorded because we can look back and go, "Oh, what did I say? What did I say?" And I did that. No, I normally don't go back and, watch them. I don't have time, but something prompted me. It was a comment. It was a comment. Someone asking me about at May, when we did the June predictions, I predicted that there would be earthquakes in South America. And she had asked me when in the comments. And so I started looking into it and I'm like, I'm thinking, because this was just within the last few days that I saw that comment on my YouTube. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if they've already happened, right? And so I looked it up and I'm telling you, Susan, there was a bunch of earthquakes in South America all of a sudden. I think it was that ripple effect that I was talking about. So it started on June 14th in Bolivia. They had a 4.5 magnitude earthquake. Then, and on same day, June 14th in Chile, 4.7. June 15th, 4.5 in Argentina. June 16th, 4.5 in Chala, Peru. I hope I'm saying that right. And a 6.0. Yeah, magnitude. So then June 17th, 5.5 in Peru. June 18th, 4.7 in Peru. It keeps rippling in South America. And I remember feeling that feeling of, remember I said it's a spicy, hot energy. It's rippling. June 18th, 4.6 in Ecuador.
Sure.
June 18th, another 4.6 in San Antonio, Argentina. June 18th, 4.7 in Imperial, Peru. And so now I understand the energy of what I was feeling down there. And I'm going to be honest, I don't love doing world predictions and tuning into the world. Sometimes I feel that energy is kind of overwhelming. I can feel what's coming down the pipes. I really like making a difference doing individualized readings because I see the whole story unfold, when I'm looking at someone's reading. But when I'm looking at world predictions, I'm feeling energy all over the place. And it's like, oh my God, where do I put my attention? Right? So, but it's interesting. So for anyone who watched my June predictions, yeah, South America definitely had the earthquakes. And anyways, the lady who commented had asked when, and because she's traveling to South America in August. Well, if you're watching, I think you're safe in August. I felt it in the month of June. And it sounds like on June 18th, so far, it has stopped or slowed down. Because what is it? The 20th today, June 20th. Happy solstice today. Longest day of the year, isn't it? Today or tomorrow? Is it today?
Today. Today.
It's
And
a good day to.
moon tomorrow happening in June. We're filming this and recording this at the end of June for July.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so a lot of astrological energy is happening today and tomorrow.
Interesting. I'm really glad that we're getting together to do this so we can discuss it. Because yeah, there's a lot of different energy coming up and shifting and things coming in. I also mentioned the wildfires in California, and apparently there has been quite the wildfires in California that just started this month. So I'm hoping that it doesn't go into July. It doesn't feel like I'm looking at earthquake energy in July or, too bad. I don't feel that Canada is going to burn as bad as it has in the past few years. It doesn't feel that spicy in that sense, but I mean, we still have to be careful. And I still think we will see, fires that are maybe put out a lot easier than the big ones that were in the past. But yeah, it's interesting to watch the weather, but I also want to say that while I was out camping in Radium this last week, I looked up at the skies and I could see the planes with the big streak streaking across the sky. And I said to my husband, I say, you watch. Those are the planes that they're spraying the clouds. They're making the clouds. You watch. It'll be a lacy looking cloud that kind of goes like this from the line. Sure enough, 2 hours later, you could clearly see that lacy cloud that was slowly dispersing and becoming like this. And it literally looks like a net over the sky. And you can tell the real clouds because they're fluffy and dense, but these netty, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you
Clouds. Oh my God, it's everywhere. So don't tell me about global warming when you're already blocking out the sun and creating clouds. And I got to tell you, it poured rain for about 4 days straight after that. So, I mean, we needed the rain, but still, they created it, right? What are we breathing in with that?
I'm going to say when I pick up Canada, and I haven't really been focusing on Canada, but I do see the heat, I do see fires, but it doesn't just feel hot or fire, it feels wet. It's like it's fire and water together. So it's like some areas of Canada, I think, are on fire and other areas are flooding. It's like it's extremes at both ends. You know, there's not a balance.
Well, it's interesting you say that because in the city of Calgary, just I think it was last week, maybe about 9 days ago, we had a huge water main break and it flooded 16th Avenue. And it's horrible because everyone who's in certain parts of the city, in the northwest section of the city, they're on boil water advisory. Some of them don't even have water coming out. It's just sludge that's coming out. And it's just, yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned the water because with the huge water main break, it's not going to be fixed still for a couple weeks. So it's, yeah, people are in a bad way in the city with that.
It's this whole summer feels very unsettled to me. And you and I talk all the time about not moving into fear, not letting fear control you. So as you and I talk about these things, we're not doing this to say, oh, huddle at home and be afraid.
Yeah.
We're just sort of saying, well, here's a heads up, so don't be
Mhm.
upset. We're going to survive everything. But the summer doesn't feel smooth to me. When I start to look at the summer, it just feels bumpy, like almost like a roller coaster kind of thing. And not the good kind of wee where you throw your arms up. It feels like, uh-oh, that dip looks kind of big. So it feels agitated. So
Yeah.
I think we may see lots of headlines this summer instead of the long
Mhm.
summer we might want and desire. It feels a little bit, more sudden, more impulsive things happening, more, oh, I don't want to turn on the news, what's going on now kind of thing. But it feels like that for July and August. And then by September, it feels like it's calming down to me. So it
Mm.
just feels like it's these really super hot months that like everybody sort of loses it for a little while. And then as we start to move into the fall, September, October, it feels like things calm down a little bit more.
Wow. See, and I don't know. I think that, well, where are you talking? Are you talking Canada, the US? Because I kind of feel like you guys are getting spicy in the fall,
Oh
especially
my,
around that election time, right? They're so, people's emotions are high on that. It's like it's happening to them, right? Because the amount of anxiety and spice that this election holds. So I think that things are gonna kind of heat up there. What do you feel
our
for your
election
political
is in
temperature?
November. And so it definitely feels unusual to me.
Mhm.
But if you're aware of this in politics in the United States, in July, on July 15th, we have what they call the Republican National Convention.
Oh.
And this is where all the Republicans or the big name Republicans get together in a city for a big convention, and all the delegates go and they cast their vote for who their nominee for president is going to be. In this case, Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Then in August, the Democrats do the same thing. They pick a different city, they have a big convention, all the delegates come in and they cast their vote for who they want to be president, which is Joseph Biden.
Mhm.
Interesting thing about this, and I said this in January, and it sounds off the wall, and it is off the wall. So I have it's intuitive. I have absolutely no claim to if this is going to happen or not. But when I meditate or see the election in November,
Yeah.
I don't see Donald Trump's name. I see
Interesting.
Joseph Biden's name, but I
Yeah.
don't see Donald Trump's name.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Donald Trump is going to be
On the
the
ballot.
nominee for president in November. Doesn't mean I don't like Trump, doesn't mean I don't like Biden. I'm not saying this is a political person. I'm saying this is intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels like he might not be the nominee.
Oh.
And that's never happened before. It has never happened before in the history of the United States. Something like what I'm picking up. And it's
Yeah.
so weird. I don't know how to make sense of it. What I do know is that in July, exactly on July 15th, when the Republicans are having their nominating convention, the planet Mars is moving in to sit right next to Uranus. And these two planets are coming together like this, you know.
Mhm.
And Uranus is a planet of change, upheaval, revolution, sudden unexpected things happening. Mars is forceful, sometimes violent, action oriented. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this for a convention.
Mhm.
That means during a little more so during the Republican, but somewhat there for the Democrats as well, we're going to see sudden unexpected events happening. That means there may be some sudden change that nobody is predicting. You know, it's in the United States, we don't have laws or rules that say the person you pick as your vice president has to be somebody that's a member of our party or a politician. You could pick the mailman to be your vice president, you know.
Oh.
And I'm wondering, is Donald Trump going to pick somebody that's just out of the blue that completely throws the convention up in the air?
Gotcha.
Because that would do it. Or does he nominate somebody to be his running mate who everybody hates or, you know, doesn't like? And there's a lot of back and forth and everybody's fighting because Mars wants to fight. So this can be fighting each other. There could be demonstrations and different sides, which we're used to that at this point.
Yeah.
But it can also be fighting within the party. One party wants this, one part of the party wants that. They can't come together. There's a lot going on here. On July 11th, literally 4 days before the Republican convention, is when Donald Trump, who has been convicted of crimes in New York, is sentenced. And we don't know. Nobody knows what that sentence is going to be.
Yeah.
Maybe the judge says, you know, don't do this again and you're on probation.
Yeah.
But what if the judge says you're in house arrest and you can't go to the convention? What if he says you need to be in jail for 60 days or something? We're going to see some very unexpected things happen in July. And we're going to see them happen for the United States in this convention.
Yeah.
What I find very interesting is that the chart of Canada, the astrology chart of Canada, is very similar to the astrology chart of the United States.
It does not surprise me.
It's one of the reasons we're such good allies and we get along so well. Countries have always, you know, had this kind of good connection. The charts are very similar. And so as we have all this upheaval and this Mars conjunct Uranus showing up in July, we're going to not only see it play out in the United States, we're going to see it play out in Canada as well. So this could be some sort of information that comes forward. This could be some sort of sudden action that catches everybody by surprise. This can be, you know, I don't know enough about Canadian politics to know, could Trudeau do something completely off the wall that nobody was expecting? You know?
Well, let's talk about that. Because I don't watch the news or anything, but I was just looking for my predictions going, okay, so what did I say? And one of the things I've been saying for a while is that June 2024, Trudeau would be out with his tail between his legs. That's what I heard. It came in as a passing little, you know, when the light bulb goes off, right? And you just grab onto it and it's like, oh my God, let's pray that this one sticks, right? That this one's right. But it's not even about that. It's about saving Canada, honestly, because Canadians have had enough, and the big polls are saying that, because the big polls just came out saying that 68% of Canadians want this guy gone, can't stand him and want this guy gone. I think it's actually more than that. They probably didn't give us Albertans a chance to vote, because our whole province is done with this guy. I know that for sure. But what's interesting is that this month, and I've been saying this for a while about this, right? Well, it's interesting that this month it came out in the news that there's a list of Liberal MPs that are basically treasonous, that they were working with other governments to manipulate the election in 2015 and the other one in 2019, and Trudeau is refusing to publicly release the list. And I'm thinking, yeah, buddy, because your name is probably on it, and that's treason, right? They used to use execution for people who were treasonous, putting your whole country at risk. And so we'll see, is that part of what I was picking up? Because that came out this month, right? So if that does come down around him, it came down in the month that I was like, oh, tail between the legs. And that's huge. That's as brutal as you can get. And I don't know why the RCMP isn't looking into this. I don't know if they are. From my understanding, I think they weren't. But there is internal investigations happening and stuff. So we'll see if that list becomes public. We'll see. Pierre Poilievre is being really smart. He's one of the leaders. So Jagmeet Singh and Trudeau, they're saying, oh, you need to read this report so that you can know who the names are, right? Well, the minute you read that report, you're not allowed to publicly speak about it. They put you on a gag order. So Pierre Poilievre is being smart, going, I'm not touching that, I'm not reading that, because I'm going to talk all about it when the truth comes to the surface. He's being smart. So, but they're kind of nailing him, going, oh, he doesn't want to do anything about it. He doesn't want to know who's treasonous. It's like, that guy's playing his cards right. It's literally because he can't talk about it publicly then. And so the thing that I wanted to say, because I was thinking about this, okay, if he does get kicked out, we'll say, as the Liberal leader, that shocking turn of events that you're saying kind of fits the bill. If this goes down, then I think I figured out the Liberals' next chess move. So if Trudeau steps down, like he really, really should, they're going to promote, I think it's this Mark Carney guy, whoever it is that they want to put next as Liberal leader. It's either him or LeBlanc or something like that. Anyways, whoever the next person is, right, that would sit there as the interim, because there would have to be someone to take over until the election if he was to step down, and then we get an election. Well, I think that actually that would be smart of them in order to try and do damage control. Say, okay, Trudeau's done. I'm putting this new guy in. This new guy is going to try and, I don't know, maybe reverse some things, try and do some damage control over Trudeau so that they don't lose the election by a landslide. That probably would be, just saying, that would be their smartest move, because their name is so damaged. The Liberals and the NDP here are so damaged. And the reason why the NDP are damaged is because to cheat the system, even though it's not cheating the system, but no one in the history, I think, of Canada has done it before, where they merged parties so that they could knock out the Conservatives. They literally merged parties so that they could have a majority and pass through whatever they wanted. So the two parties were passing through everything, putting us big time in debt, big time in debt, and then throwing the carbon tax at us, taxing the crap out of us because they don't know how to stop shopping. So anyways, to do some damage control, because it's getting pretty deep, like the corruption around the Liberals and around Trudeau in particular, it's sick. It's sick. If you knew how many scandals this guy has had and gotten away with it, including perjury on the stand, it is mind-blowing. This guy thinks he's above the law. Who knows? Maybe he is. I didn't know he was, though, right? Anyways, he needs to go. So if he goes, it's over damage control, and they'll try to do it to save some seats, because if they don't do something big and, all of a sudden, like you're talking about, they're going to not only lose, they're going to lose by a landslide, like a historic landslide.
I'm going to say, and this is strictly for entertainment, folks, because I
Yes,
know
yes.
nothing.
I'm not predicting anything in that. I don't want to get into any trouble
Yeah.
with that political stuff.
This is just entertainment.
Mhm.
I will say, when I pick up Trudeau's energy, it's like two barrels coming at the same time. One side, sex scandals, and it feels as if Trudeau doesn't really care about them. He may say he does. He may,
Oh, the sex scandal's already been buried. That was
yeah.
literally like
So
yesterday's news. It came in so fast, and all of a sudden it's poof, it's on to the next scandal.
it feels like he'd rather have everybody focus on the sex scandals. It's sort of like a magician, like, look what this hand is doing, so you don't look
Yeah.
over here. Over here on the other side is the money scandals. And there's all this secret money. I don't know enough about Canadian politics to know how that's working, but this just feels like very shady stuff, very underground stuff, very secret stuff, and really toxic, just really, really negative stuff. And so, yeah, familiar with corruption in politics, it's welcome to
Yeah.
2024. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
So, yes, there may be, if there were going to be investigations, I'll be telling them to follow the money. Look at the money, because it leaves a trail. These days with electronic stuff, you can find the trail. And that's where the sort of smoking gun would be, on the electronic money stuff. But yeah, when I pick up Canada, I pick up the same energy I pick up with the US. Russia interference. And so now that may be interference in terms of bots or trying to influence social media, but it may also be influence with the whole cold hard cash and the buying and selling of politicians, which is an age-old, crime going on. So it may be both. I will say, I'm just thinking about this now, which is why suddenly my face just went blank for a minute. This September, October, and the first half of November, and I know we're talking about July, but this just came into my mind, so I'm going to mention it. I'll mention it again when we do August and September, but during this September, October, and first half of November, we are going to have the planet Pluto slip back in just a little bit into Capricorn. For the reasons.
Hold that thought. A client asked me about something called trans Pluto. What is that, since you're mentioning it? And she was wondering how that influences things right now. Is that okay that I ask you that?
Yeah, it's okay that you ask that. It's not, there's the planet Pluto. Trans Pluto is more, I'd say, like an adjunct or an asteroid than the planet.
Okay.
I don't see trans Pluto's influence nationally and globally the way I see Pluto's influence. I would be looking at that more in an individual chart. I might look at that. I might look at Chiron more. I might look at other things more. But this Pluto is going to slip back into Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of rigidity, of control, of government, of power. So I do think until mid-November, and especially September, October, November, we're going to see the old ways, the desire for ultimate power, authority, and control over the masses. It's going to be reasserting itself. So I think Trudeau is probably going to fight hard to not leave. Doesn't mean I know anything about whether he will or not, but I think this Capricorn energy is going to help him want to hold on more and stay and fight. But after mid-November, Pluto moves into Aquarius and stays there. So all the things that are sort of circling this year and nibbling around the edges and not yet manifesting, they're going to manifest in 2025. We're going to see big changes happening in 2025 because the old way is giving up their last grasps of power. So Joe will probably be out. Many of the MPs, I'm thinking, are probably going to be out. Many of the old ways of doing things are going to be out. But it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a few months. And for you and I, when we pick up an energy, we can feel it, we can see it. And so it's harder to kind of pinpoint the timing on that.
Yeah.
when we feel it, we just know it's there. But for it to go from our head into the world sometimes takes a minute. But I definitely agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think Trudeau is on his way out.
Yeah.
And
I hope so.
I think there's some stuff going on about taxes. I don't know if anything's going on there about who they want to tax or what kind of taxes they want. I keep going for taxes in my head,
Okay.
I keep hearing that.
He is taxing the heck out of us. There's something now called the carbon tax. Cigarettes went up, alcohol went up. Again, like it's in everything. That's not got anything to do with the carbon tax, but everything went up. Like this guy is bleeding us because he's taxing the taxes. It's insane. And so it's yeah, this carbon tax thing, we've seen gas go through the roof. Danielle Smith, our premier in Alberta, is really fighting him on it. She's amazing. Yeah, taxes. And I think this is the thing. If you're picking up taxes, I wonder, because I was actually wondering, okay, if they bring in this Mark Carney guy or whoever it is that would take over, I wonder if he would repeal the carbon tax and
Oh,
say, we'll wait until the election to decide if you guys want it or not, right? Or something like that. He would put it off or stop it for now. That would be a bit of damage control. That would make him look a lot better. Like Trudeau's just pushed too far. He needs somebody else to step in and fix his mistakes because he's too cocky, he's too arrogant, he's a narcissist. And I hate calling names, but he is. I call a spade, right? But the other thing I wanted to say too, I think it was last month that I mentioned, I was really kind of worried. It was either May or April that I mentioned it, or June. What are we in? Yeah, we're in June. We're doing the July ones. Okay. Anyways, over the last few months, I can't flip it and remember. But I mentioned that I was worried about Russia and China getting together as superpowers. Do you remember me mentioning something about that? Well, they just signed some agreement that if Russia gets touched by anybody, China's in. And that is that I'm telling you, 2025 doesn't feel good. And it's kind of leading to that on a global scale, right? So I'm just saying that I was worried about that, and now it's happened. I just watched it on the news that I never watched. My husband was flicking through channels, and I was like, "Oh my God, stay there! Let me see this." And I'm glad that I saw that part of it because it shocked me. It's like, "Oh my God, that's 10 steps closer to a world war," right? Because those are superpowers. They don't mess around. Those are people that do not mess around. Canadians and Americans, they do. They mess around. I hate to say that, but you know,
love the way you put that.
I'm talking when I look at the energy of China and Russia, they don't feel like somebody that I would want to joke around with
Yeah.
or try to push the line with. It just doesn't feel like those are the type of people to do that to, right? So I don't know. I'm praying that doesn't become a part of our reality, but it could also be what I'm seeing in 2025.
I see Ukraine getting much stronger.
Really?
Ukraine not just pushing back against
Yeah, but
Russia,
how
but
are they getting strong? Do you want to know how they're getting strong? By our taxes that our governments are giving without our permission. And I'm not saying to not go and help your neighbor, okay? But when your own people are suffering and you're taking in refugees when you know that there's already no place to live and a one-bedroom apartment is $2,200 now, and $2,200 for a one-bedroom apartment, Susan. And he's come. Okay, but what about you can't keep up with the housing crisis, right? So he's making really poor decisions and it's our taxes. And he's literally sending them billions. Trudeau is billions to the Ukraine. So is Biden. So how is the Ukraine getting strong? Because of our tax paying dollars, not because they have strength within them, but because they're bleeding everyone dry. That is supporting a war that is killing people's sons and daughters. Like it is just a messed up 3D matrix that all of that is stuck in. And
there's that. But I will also
It's
say,
terrible.
I don't think it helps the world or our countries for Russia to take over Ukraine. That makes things harder for us. So it's sort of a no-win situation. There's negative consequences if you do and negative consequences if you don't. It's not a question of good or bad. It's a question
Yeah.
of good or bad. It's just
So
what
they
it is.
need to sit down like grown ass adults and come to the table and come to an agreement. Because killing each other and wasting resources like this and putting the whole world in high alert, they got no right to do that. The Ukraine has no right to do that, and neither does Russia. They need to grow up and become, the wiser people that sit down and show the world what peace can look like, right? Like, it's just they need to be grown-ups and come to the table and
I cannot even
figure it
imagine
out.
what it is like to be a world leader right now. Got Ukraine and Russia in war. You've got China in peace treaty with Russia. You've got Russia going to North Korea and taking his picture with Kim Jong-un or whatever. You've got, Israel and Palestinians fighting. You've got Iran trying to start World War
Everybody.
III. Our country is in upheaval. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that as doomsday. I just mean that as a statement of fact. There's
Yeah.
a lot of upheaval going on right now. There's a lot of questions and challenges for every country, regardless of their democracy or their government. And I do think ultimately we are going to find a way through it. Ultimately, I think democracy holds, we find a way through this, but it doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable and scary in the interim.
Yeah.
And it does mean that we're going to be looking at some things we don't like. We're going to be seeing things we don't like. But when I get agitated or upset about that and I move into meditation and prayer, I always get that calming voice like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to come out the other side. I believe in Canada, democracy wins. I believe that the democratic ideals of your country will hold and will push back against what's going on. And I think the same for the United States. I think both of our countries have had to face challenges in this area, but the democracy holds, and I hold that true for the world. I actually see the world becoming more democratic over time, not more authoritative, but it's going to take time. Like we're looking at 5 to 10 years before we start to see some of this. I do think in Israel, we're going to see a two-state solution. And I think we'll see it in the next 5 years, which may sound like a long time, but they've been fighting for 40 years at least.
Yeah.
So within the next 5 years would be dramatic progress in this area.
Yeah.
But most of us as humans are very immediate. We want a solution now. I don't like this. Fix it. Make it go away. So it's hard to say you're looking down the road 5 years. But I see ultimately we're going to go through some trying times. But I see pictures in my head when I think about this of gardens and flowers and the sun coming up. And these are metaphors for me, like the sun is going to come up. The sun's going to come out the next day. We're going to go through the crap, but we're going to come out the other side. And I'll tell you something I noticed about all this for Canada and for the US. You've had Trudeau sort of challenging your democratic norms. Like, how can he do this? And how is this happening? We've had something similar in the United States. A lot of our country stuff mirrors each other. And so in these last few years, the citizens of both of our countries have suddenly gotten very involved in politics.
Yeah.
It's not oh, yeah, I was too busy to vote. It's fine. No, people are engaged now.
Yeah. True.
People are thinking about their country's government. People are standing up and saying, this isn't okay. We need to do this. So even though it's coming from reasons that are not very fun, I'm glad to see citizens getting more engaged. That's the upside and the positive part of this energy.
Yeah.
So don't negate that. Your voices in Canada, 7% is huge. Your voices are speaking up and going, this is not okay with us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I just wish that more people would stand up and use their voice and use their power and know that when we come together, it changes our reality. And I got to say, so I was on with Jason Shirk, I did an interview on, about what's to come in 2025 on Unified. And one of the people who had kind of written in had asked, okay, well, what do we do about this? How do we step out of the anxiety of it? And my answer was stay in the present in immediately what's happening in front of you, because they're on their own timeline. Remember that we are here as creators to create our timeline. And if it's not directly in front of you, it's got to be out of your head, out of your reality. Keep it out, keep it out, keep it out. Don't invite it in. Don't invite it in through TV or, radio or anything like that that disturbs your peace. Begin to create a bubble of peace around you, around your home, around your surroundings, and stick with that. Stick with that. It's okay to, create that place of stillness and sit in it and be in the here and now. And what I mean by that is, we'll say you're painting your walls. I am painting my walls. I am painting gray on my walls. Next, I have to do the trim. You catch my drift? Stay as present as you can. I'm sitting in the chair. I'm talking to Susan. Nothing can disturb your peace when you stay in the present and refuse to deal with anything that is outside of the now, inside of your head. Don't try and pull it apart and find solutions. Know that when we sit back, don't struggle, float, right? Don't struggle. When we float, that's when the answers will naturally come to us. And I tell you, it's a time also of alignment, divine alignment. And even today being the 20th, with the solstice, there is absolute spiritual shifts that are taking place, especially over this summer. Like I gotta say, another big date in the summer is that Lionsgate portal, 8/8. I can always feel the energy of that day. It is huge, right? And it's funny because some people will say to me, oh, I hate that day because everything seems to go wrong, traffic and behaviors and blah, 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 and my fridge broke and all this. And it's like, because energy is neither good nor bad. It's defined by the person experiencing that energy, right? But if you know how to work with the energy, it can be the absolute best day of your life. So I think it's really important for people to know where they're at, and to not feed in to fear that's being blasted. And, even talking about politics, I get heated there for a second. I'm like, I don't want to spend more time with that guy's mouth on, or, a name on my lips. It's just, ugh. But we do got to talk about it because it's happening in our reality. It's happening in our collective reality. Right? And so the only thing that we can do is get out there, vote, make your voices be heard, and then sit back and let the universe do the rest, because I do believe in karma. I do believe that what goes around comes around, and it's just a matter of time before, it happens. But the other thing that I wanted to say on a personal scale in July, let's get into the personal energy, how this energy is going to land on each and every person. Because one thing that I notice is that when there is an energetic shift, it kind of has an overall theme, like you were saying, but it hits us all differently. It meets us where we're at, and it messes with us where we're at as well. So what did you pick up for the July, personal energy of what people will be experiencing?
I'm going to say one of the things that I talked about in May for the month of June was things opening up, things moving after having been for so long. And so a lot of us have already seen this. We've seen this in our nation. We've seen this in our business. We've seen this with our neighbors, our families. Things are starting to move. Things that have been plodding along. Suddenly things start to pick up and movement is happening and projects are getting the green light and things like this. So this past month for June, it's been a lot of mental energy. It's been a lot of thoughts. It's been a lot of communication. It's been a lot of going, doing, trying to juggle things. I was just last week, on the phone with the computer guy for like 2 hours, 2 hours trying to get them to work on my computer. That's a perfect symbol of what's been going on in June. But we're looking as we go into July of these energies shifting. And that is because we are having the sun and the personal planets like Mercury and Venus, they're moving into Cancer energies. So we're shifting from all these mental ideas and thinking about things and a restless kind of mental energy. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, into water energies. Cancer is a water sign. And so we're going to have planets in water making us more emotional, making us more sensitive. Now, water energy is also intuitive energy. So in July, all of our intuitive vibes are amping up, they are rising. So pay attention to that gut feeling, to that little small voice that is saying something. You know, we tend, maybe not you and I, because we do this professionally, but most people who are leading maybe more conventional lives, getting up, going to work, dropping kids off at carpool or whatever, they tend to negate that little small voice. Oh, that's not real. That's not happening. Listen to it, because this is where you're going to be spot on. This is where that voice is going to be higher. It's going to be louder. You're going to be more drawn and more aware of your intuitive energies. And I think that's a good thing. I'm excited about that. So you may be looking at taking an intuitive development class. You may be looking at doing some sort of telepathic exercise with a friend. You know, you may be looking at exploring this, reading books, getting a reading, you know, meditating more, talking about your guides and angels. This is also going to amp up your dreams. So keep a dream journal, explore lucid dreaming, you know, learn about dream symbols. So this is a positive energy. It's a little quieter than the June energies, but it's also powerful on an inner level. Emotions that we have pushed down start to come up. Now, sometimes that's uncomfortable. Oh, I can't believe I'm remembering that, you know, old memories start to surface, but they're not coming up to the surface to bother you or hurt you. They're coming up to be healed, up and out, so that we can let go of them. We can deal and be done with this. So we all tend to be a little bit more sensitive when Cancer energies are involved. Our little feelings get hurt. Cancer is a sensitive sign. So regardless of our age, regardless of our gender, we can feel like that fifth grade lunchroom. Oh, they didn't ask me to sit with them, or they didn't invite me to the party, or nobody said good morning to me. You know, we just, you know, that little nobody loves me kind of energy comes up. And we deal with that from time to time. And, you know, we may be a little embarrassed about it, but we all experience that from time to time. So just don't be too hard on yourself. No, they just forgot to say good morning to you. It doesn't mean they don't like you. You know, they just, you know, your birthday card was late. They just got busy and forgot to mail it. Not that they're mad at you, kind of thing. So we kind of, a little bit in July, have to kind of talk ourselves off that emotional ledge, you know, and talk ourselves down to don't take it so personally. But I love this energy because it is about emotional connection. That's who wants to nurture, wants to take care of you. And so it's a wonderful energy for families, for anybody that you're close to. It's a wonderful energy for showing your love. You may show it a little bit through nagging. So if you have kids or teenagers, they may be like, Mom, Dad, I got this, you know, back off. Because it's, you know, it looks like it's going to rain. Did you take an umbrella? You know, oh, here, I packed your lunch. It's, you know, it's kind of cute, but if you're a teenager, you might not like that too much. It's very nurturing. It's very kind. Cancer is very kind. One of the things I always warn people about and give them a heads up is that when you have a lot of Cancer energy going on, Cancer rules food. You know, I live in the United States, and our country is the fattest country in the world. You know, our country is a Cancer country and is obsessed with food, you know. And so this could be more eating out, more drinking, more, you know, what spells a nice meal to you. You may take cooking classes. You may write a cookbook. You may decide to perfect your recipe for blueberry muffins, you know. You may decide to get in the kitchen and give everybody food gifts this year, you know, kind of thing. So sometimes we gain weight in July. You know, under a Cancer moon, there's a lot of Cancer energy there. We all become foodies. So you may be watching the Food Channel a lot and looking at Gordon Ramsay and, you know, I don't know, all the other food people up there. So it's fun, but I always tell people be kind to yourself. If you find yourself having an extra dessert or 2 scoops of ice cream instead of 1, It's only for July. It'll calm down in August. So let yourself have an extra ice cream. It's not going to be the end of the world, you know. Don't be that tough on yourself. Now, right at the beginning of the month, January 5th, we have a new moon coming up. And that's what,
You
2
mean
weeks
July
away?
5th? You said
July 5th.
January 5th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, July 5th, right around the
Yeah.
corner. We have a new moon, which means that we have the sun and the moon both in the sign of Cancer. And this new moon and full moon starts to be felt about 3 days beforehand.
Yeah.
So probably from about July 2nd and 3 days after to about July 8th, that little period right there in the beginning, there's going to be lots of Cancer energy floating around. But it's also, in addition to being very sensitive, this is a new moon. New moon is all about new beginnings. So right there at the beginning of a new season, at the beginning of the summer, we're going to be ready for new projects. What do we want to do? Do we want to landscape the yard, learn Japanese, apply for a new job, you know, change companies? What do we want to do? Because this is the time we can change things on our terms.
Yeah.
We can change our attitude. A new attitude is a new beginning. We find that we can let go of old hurts. That's a new beginning. You know, what do we want to bring into our lives? Love, money, work, health, all of the above. And so this is the time to look at that. Take focus of that. Make a plan for that. New moons and full moons are wonderful for ceremony work. You know, I tell people all the time, I don't do a lot of ceremony work, but if I'm going to do any, I do it at the full and new moon.
Yeah.
So the new moon is all about family reunions. You know, for the United States, it's right around July 4th, you know, and holiday weekends and everybody getting together. So this is a lovely, lovely energy to begin July. And then later in July, we have the full moon in Capricorn. And I think that's on the 21st. It's on the 21st.
Okay.
And so on July 21st, we have the full moon. And full moons are going to be more uncomfortable than new moons. We get a full moon when the sun is in one sign and the moon is in the other sign, and they are fighting each other.
Yeah.
So the sun is going to be in Cancer, home, family, nurturing, kindness, support. Here, let me help you. Have a cookie. You know, that's very Cancer. I could say that because I'm Cancer. So very nurturing, very loving, very kind. But then you've got the moon in Capricorn, and it's not that Capricorn is not kind and loving, but they're much more down to earth. If Cancer rules the home, Capricorn rules the business. It rules career. Capricorn is all about our professional life. So there could be some conflicts going on there between how much do we have to give to our business? How much do we have to give to our home?
Yeah.
Where do we make those cuts? Do I tell this client no when maybe I need the money so that I can make it to my son's Little League game? You know, we may have to make choices there. But we may also get more activated about our career. We may start to become more ambitious, start to think of things we can do. You know, because it's home and profession, we may find something we can do from home that brings in money. That, you know, is a nice side hustle and brings in some extra cash into the household. But we can be a little more emotionally unsettled. We want to be love and light, and how are you going to pay for that? You know, they're hard to balance both of these. So we have to find ways to be practical and down to earth and emotional and sensitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting that you say that about July, because I also saw the energy of strength coming back to the people. Like for the ones who have felt really exhausted and disconnected, or feeling like they're running in circles or spinning their wheels and getting nowhere, hurry up and wait kind of a period. Because I've noticed even in my readings that there's a bunch of people going through that. It's like, oh, if you only knew how not alone you are. You know, it's got something to do with the universal energy and the way it sits in our life, right? And in July, I saw people gaining bits of themselves back. So if you want to do a ceremony in the month of July, call the parts of you back that you've given away, either to past relationships that are done, past situations that no longer serve you. Call it back, like Spider-Man. Just recall it back, and you know, maybe do that salt bath that has the baking soda in it that I've talked about before. 1 cup Himalayan salt and a whole box of baking soda. Dump it in the tub, soak in there, and it'll reset your energy field. It really will. So that might be another really good thing to do in the month of July if you haven't done that. Because a lot of people, it's spring and summer now, they're not really going to really be sitting in a hot bath like they would in October or December. So, but it might be, that time to just have that reset, even within your auric field. But yeah, I think it's going to be a better month in July and August. I think that, I know you said rocky actually at the beginning of the
Bumpy. I think it's going to be bumpy with unexpected things happening. Now, remember, this Uranus and Mars, they're going to meet up in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is about the earth. And this is like eruption. So I wonder if we're going to see an earthquake or two going on in July. But you just have to not let it throw you. You just have to not get so caught up in what is happening that you let it take your peace.
Yeah, for sure.
Unexpected things do not always mean bad unexpected things. You unexpectedly fall in love. You unexpectedly get a promotion. You unexpectedly win the lottery. There's lovely unexpected things that happen. As we get older, we tend to not be so excited about something new and different. Well, that might hurt us. We don't like that. Just keep that there. But this can be getting you out of your rut. This can be opening up new avenues for you. This can be very exciting. And I don't know if I don't remember when I said this, but I remember saying something that sometimes energies that are a little problematic on the national and international level can actually do very well on the personal level because we're in charge of them.
Yeah.
And
totally.
So new sort of exciting breaking open things, energy is coming in. We can use that. We can use that in positive ways to move forward. I've got plans for July already. I'm like, okay, we're going to go with this. So don't think as we talk about all these international things going on, as oh, great, the summer's going to be awful. It can be very exciting. There can be unexpected trip, unexpected travel. The kids unexpectedly tell you they're going to come to visit. You unexpectedly find the money to go to Disneyland or whatever. It's looking at surprise and newness with a sense of wonder instead of a sense of fear. And so I'm going to look at this.
Speaking of travel, so I will announce it because we're getting close to it, or I guess this is the July predictions. And so I'll probably be there already in August, but I am taking you guys to Europe again with me. So let me tell you about my trip. My whole of August, I'm going to Europe. So I'm going to go stay with my cousins for 5 days in Dublin, Ireland, and go see the family jaunts again. They're the people that I met last year through Ancestry.com. Wonderful, wonderful experience. And Nicole, she came to my retreat. I think I showed you pictures of her. My spitting imaged me. It's very trippy, very trippy. She actually opened my phone with her face twice. I think I told you about that. Yeah. Insane.
I forgot.
My phone. Anyways, I'm gonna go see them in Dublin, and then I'm gonna go fly over to England to go see my friend Carol again, and we're gonna take the train to Paris and go and spend a couple days in Paris, then come back to England, and then jump in her vehicle. And guess what? She has the Gravedigger's Cottage again rented for us, but for a week this time, which is a little insane because we only spent 3 nights last summer, and I was like, it was some funky energy. I slept because I know how to sleep in a haunted house. You just raise your resonance above it and they can't touch you. But still, it's a little unnerving, right? Like you can feel them watching you and stuff. Anyways, she got us in there for a week because apparently it was cheaper to rent it for the week than the weekend. So I'm like, okay. So we're going to be staying, and it's literally right in the middle of the Avebury stone circles. It's the St. James Church, if anybody wants to look it up on the map in the Avebury stone circles in England. It's the St. James Church, and literally there's a graveyard right in front of you. You're staying in the gravedigger's cottage. Like even the roof is really little. So I'm going to do lots of lives from there. We're even going to take out our little EMF meters and our little, she's got a spirit box and everything. Oh, we're going ghost busting. We're going ghost hunting. Yeah, we're going ghost busting. So I'm going to do lots of lives with you guys, and they're 7 hours ahead. So you'll be able to watch it during the day while it's nighttime for us. And then from there, we are going to fly from England over to Washington, D.C., because one of the big things that's on my bucket list is to actually neutralize and remove the curse of the Hope Diamond, because that Hope Diamond belonged to my mother's great-great aunt, Evelyn Walsh McLean, and she went crazy. There's a curse on that thing. Just to put it quickly in a nutshell, it was stolen by, I believe, William Tavernier was his name. So it was a center stone of a Hindu god statue. And so the priest at the time cursed the stone that anybody who wore it or owned it would die grisly deaths. And they all did, right down to the great-great aunt that then sold it to Cartier. You know the watches, Cartier watches? She sold it to Cartier, or her estate did. And then Cartier, for the price of the postage, $1 with insurance, the postage was $1, sold it to the Smithsonian Institute, and that's where it is today. So I'm going to go there, and I've already started tuning in. Okay, how do I lift this curse? And I've had some very, very interesting advice that I will share with you guys when I'm on that journey. I'll explain everything that I'm doing. Then it doesn't end there. We're on to big adventures, bucket list adventures. From the Smithsonian Institute, Carol and I are going to take the train down to Charlottesville and get picked up to go to the Monroe Institute. Again, we're going to end the summer at the Monroe Institute in Faber, Virginia, taking the Gateway program. And Susan, I'm crossing my fingers, praying that you get in. If it's meant to be, it'll be. You're on the wait list, so let's pray that you can get there. But that's going to be my month in August. And I'm going to make sure to do as many lives as I can from really cool graveyards and churches and amazing places. And my cousin said he's going to take me to I think it's called the Hilatara, and to Newgrange and stuff. So I'll have lots of ghost adventures. Fran loves telling ghost stories, and we will be in person. I've done a video with him, Irish superstitions and ghost stories, or something like that it's called. Anyways, I love his accent. So we'll be telling ghost stories in Dublin, Ireland. But yeah, so anyways, I'm not going to have classes in my studio in August. Maybe in July, at the beginning of July. Maybe, we'll see. Maybe. I haven't quite decided yet, because I technically have the whole summer off to do other things, other adventures. But so keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. If you haven't liked my page on Instagram, it's just my name, Patricia Monna, because I'll probably go live on Instagram a couple times as well, or a few times as well. But join me on my bucket list adventure from really cool places. I'm all over the place. I'm going to take that curse off of that thing. I promise you. Watch, I'm going to pull it off of there.
That was like years ago when I was a young girl. I don't know if my Girl Scout trip or my school trip went to Washington to the Smithsonian.
Wow.
And I remember seeing the Hope Diamond.
Really?
And I was just fascinated with it. They couldn't pull me away from this. I just kept staring at this. I was so young. I didn't understand what fascinated me so much about it. I'd never seen a diamond that big. I mean, the thing is like this big, it's huge.
Wow.
And I just kept feeling the pull of I didn't know the story behind it or anything. I could feel the energy without necessarily understanding what I was feeling. So I want to hear all about you taking that curse off.
Yes. I'm already downloading instructions on how to do it from the quantum field, and it's like, ooh, that's interesting. Never thought of that. So we'll see. Anyways, I guess we should wrap it up. We went over a little bit of time. But was there anything else? Let me just look really quick, because I did make some notes.
I am going to say one more thing quickly.
Yes.
Last week, I gave a talk, and just an hour talk, about keeping your peace in a chaotic world,
Oh, that's a good
because we all need that. And you just said you were dealing with the same thing.
one.
And I gave a couple of breathing exercises that people can do.
Yeah. Mm,
And if you want them, just go to my website and contact me through the website, and I will email those breathing exercises to you with no charge or no trouble or whatever. Just let me know, because they're very simple, very easy to do. And I do them sometimes when I'm sitting at a red light or something. So we
nice.
all need exercises that we can do that help take us down from here to here and help us keep our
Absolutely.
calm no matter what's going on around us. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a good one.
calm. That's my
Oh,
website.
the
And so
video
just
kind of
go to my
glitched. Can you say that again? There was a little glitch.
exploreastrology.com. That's my website. And it's going to have the new predictions for all the signs for July. And then on the contact me page, you can contact me if you want the breathing exercises, and I'll send them to you. Not a problem.
Perfect, perfect. And if anybody wants to book an appointment with me, my website is www.patriciamona.com. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so, because you will not want to miss my bucket list adventures. I'm going to take you on some really cool, crazy stuff. I'm into getting in there at 3 o'clock in the morning in the graveyard and talking to the souls. I love this stuff. Not much freaks me out anymore. Even blood, guts, and gores. I was a nurse for years, so not much freaks me out. So come and we'll go sit in the graveyard together. But thank you, Susan, so much for once again joining me for an awesome, awesome recap of June and what is going to be taking place in July. It's always really cool to see how remote viewing and astrology come together.
They always do. And we never practice this ahead of time. It just always works out.
Yeah, totally. So thank you, my dear, and I will see you next month.
See you next month. Bye,
God
everybody.
bless, guys. Bye for now.